There can be only one.
Well, good morning, good people. Mark Holmes here. As always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and living through the misery that is being a Dallas Cowboy fan and a Dallas Cowboy YouTuber. It's been hell around here, good people. It has been hell. And we are waiting for the press conference to begin with Brian Schottenheimer.
You said something earlier. Do you guys
let me put something in the background?
If it's not the pregame, the postgame, because like when you
welcome everybody. I don't know if anybody's going to join us or not.
I fast forwarded through,
but we've got 105.3 The Fan on up here. We're waiting for the press conference to start. Of course, it probably won't start on time because they know everybody and their sister.
I stopped watching the Eagles destroy.
How's everybody feeling this morning, knowing that the Eagles are going to another Super Bowl? I'm going to pull that down for now. I'm accepting it now. I'm literally at the point where I have now accepted that we suck and that we're not going to do anything different. That this is just going to be how it's going to be. That Jerry and Stephen Jones are going to continue to screw up the team. And it's just going to continue to be a quagmire. I just don't see that there's anything that's going to change whatsoever. Okay? All right, so we got, let me switch here. Getting stuff set up. Dwayne Sweeney, the first one in the house with C Money. California in the big house, how you doing? Loren Ramon. Navajo Nation, first lady in the place.
Oh, yes, it's ladies' night. Oh, what a night. Oh, what a night.
So we now have the official. Let's get it up here. And you know what? The Cowboys can start making changes. And the first thing would be is, can we get rid of this music? I hate this press conference music. I absolutely hate it. Don't y'all hate that? Go Cowboys! I'm sick of this shit. I'm sick of everything. We need to just change everything. So I'm going to turn that off. So, if it starts, and let me know. I am a guy, homie. Oh, I'm sorry, Loren. Forgive me. I take that back. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Kurt Morgan, what's going on? Okay. I can't tell my names these days, man. That looks like Loren, like Sophia Loren. Am I mispronouncing it? Okay. But shout out to you from Navajo Nation. It's pronounced like Aaron with an L. Okay. See, you have to understand, I'm an idiot. I can't tell, okay, that the L is silent. How am I? I'm so stupid. I'm sorry, Aaron. Aaron? Aaron? All right, so I had a thought this morning, okay? Now, we have Matt Everfuss, who's flying in today. He's flying in today for an in-person interview, and it's expected that he will become our defensive coordinator. I'm actually okay with that one. He does have experience working the Cowboys. He worked with the 4-3 and the 3, converting from the 3-4 to the 4-3. He's worked with linebackers and understands the importance of them. Did great things with DeMarcus Ware and Anthony Spencer, had both of those guys at double-digit sacks. I'm okay with that. And I remember, and I have to see if I can figure, I've got over 15,000 videos. I know it's hard to believe. And actually, it's not hard to believe because I'm always here on freaking YouTube. But I remember the first press conference that I heard Brian Schottenheimer after we got rid of Kellen Moore. And I was saying how refreshing it was listening to him, because I remember saying I could listen to him. Oh, here we go. There's no sound. Wouldn't it be like the Cowboys not to have any sound? Here's the shitstorm.
We got the big room.
Oh, wait a minute.
We do have the big room.
Wait a minute. We do have the big room. Hold on. Is he showing a little masculinity here that I ain't no punk bitch? He ended up patting Stephen Jones. Let's see. Who speaks first? He's taller than them. That looks good. He's sitting upright. Okay. The mics are cut. Jerry's saying some stupid shit right now. Hey, Brian, you remember we're the ones that are in charge here right now, and make sure that you kiss my ass and look like the lapdog that we're paying you to be, okay? Because it's all about me and my dumbass son, Stephen Jones. You are just a fly on the wall here. You got that, my man? Because you know what? I ain't nobody better out here cutting and shooting
All
shit.
righty, I think we're ready to go. I want to welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out this Monday morning.
Here we go.
Here to the Star in Frisco. I'd like to introduce our participants here on the stage, who everybody knows. Of course, Cowboys owner, president, and general manager, Jerry Jones. Our new Dallas Cowboys head coach, Brian Schottenheimer.
Shotty. Okay.
And Chief Operating Officer, Executive Vice President of Player Personnel, and co-owner Stephen Jones.
All
right.
You see, I got a job.
Now,
I got a job.
What we'd like to start off with is some remarks from our head coach, Brian Schottenheimer.
Wait a minute, we're starting with the head
And then we'll
coach?
follow that up with questions.
We're going to start with the head coach? That's different.
Thank you, Tad. First of all, I'd like to thank Jerry, Miss Jean, Stephen, Charlotte, Jerry Jr., the entire Jones family. Over the past 3 years that I've been here, it's been really incredible to get to know them. But I would say really over the past 4 or 5 days, as we've spent a lot of hours together,
probably got brain damage.
that I really realized
CTE.
why this organization, but most importantly, this family is so special. So thank you guys for the opportunity.
Special.
From a football family, the Schottenheimers to the Jones, thank you guys for this incredible opportunity. And I look forward to working so closely with the entire family in continuing the legacy and tradition of this football team and the special brand that it has. I'm honored and privileged to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I'd like to just talk briefly about some of the people that we're looking for. And there's a lot of those young men in the back of the room here that, as you guys will learn from me, the Schottenheimers tend to be criers. And that just means we show our emotions. And so the type of people we're looking for that are modeled by a lot of the young men in the back that I will talk directly to them in a minute is just a special group. We're looking for world-class competitors, guys that want to compete every day to be the best versions of themselves. We are looking for people with a relentless work ethic. I was taught at a young age by my father that you can outwork people in this business. You don't belong in this organization if you don't value relationships. This business has never been about X's and O's. It's about people. And when I thought about it, I can't imagine sitting up here with a better group of people, a better family to do this with. So I thank you guys for that opportunity. And lastly, the type of people that we want, people that love this game. The game of football has given me so much, my family so much, but if you're not passionate about the game of football and the shield and what it represents, then you're probably in the wrong line of business. To our players, you are the core of this program.
You'd think.
And we will focus on you every day. To Dak, JT, JB, Demo, Brock, T-Sizz, Josh Butler, Kalen, Carson, Scooney, you're back there. I don't know if anybody else snuck in that I missed. It means the world to me that you guys are here.
That's a
and
good
I can't
sign.
wait to do this alongside you. to get to know you guys at an even deeper level. I want to get to know your hearts. I want to capture your hearts and let you guys get a great feel for me. But thank you for being here. It means the world to me. Quickly about culture, things that I believe in. The family first mantra, which is embodied by the Jones family. To do and make the sacrifices that we make in order to pursue excellence, it requires the sacrifice, and you need to make it fun. My conversation with the Joneses has been incredible. We see football the same way. It's a first-class organization all the way. You can't. I've never been in the big room, Jerry. Stephen, I've never been in the big room. But it's a first-class organization. But please understand this. A first-class organization is not just about the structure or the walls. It's about the way that we treat one another, about the way that we earn each other's trust and respect, and the way we just treat our fans. We treat the people that matter to us most. What I'm going to challenge these guys to do is to let their personalities shine. We've got some incredible, incredible players. We've got incredible support staff. The strength staff is here. That means the world to me. You guys took the time to come up here. But to do what we need to do, it's going to take incredible amounts of hard work, but we're going to do it together. Our team, the Dallas Cowboys, will be driven by a competitive spirit and a love for one another. Lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my family.
Tearjerker.
It's been an incredible journey. I've had some opportunities when I was a much younger man that I didn't feel like I was ready. I'm ready now. I know what I want. I know what it looks like. But for you guys that have been with me the whole time, my extended family, I love you. Thank you for being here. To my sister that couldn't be here, Kristen, I know she's watching. She probably has on my dad's Schottenheimer jersey. To my wife, Jemmy. It's been an incredible journey. Lots of ups, lots and downs. You've always been by my side. You're my best friend, and I love you more than you know. To my kids, Sutton and Savannah, thank you for the sacrifices that you made to allow me to pursue my dream. You are my greatest achievement, and I love you. To my mom, one of the first ladies of pro football, when I saw her last night and I had a chance to embrace her, she said, "Baby, you did it. I love you." And in closing my remarks, there's one person that's not here today.
My dad.
But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. My father was a legendary coach, a great man, but he was an incredible father. And he's impacted me more than anyone in this profession. I know he's looking down on me. I know he's proud. And I miss him very much. But I know what he'd say to me. He'd say, "Brian, the easy part is over. It's time to get to work."
Yep.
I love you, Dad. Thank you, everybody that's here. Go Cowboys.
Good speech. I can't believe that he spoke first.
All right, we'll carry on with questions, and we'll start out here in the row with Calvin.
Thank you. Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. This is for Jerry and Stephen. Why did you pick Brian Schottenheimer? What was it about him that you guys felt like he was the right fit for you guys?
Here we go. Here comes the bullshit.
In
He can't
almost
answer.
35 years that I've been involved, with the Dallas Cowboys. I've only missed one Senior Bowl, 35 years. And I think I missed one combine in 35 years. At the NFL, over the last 4 or 5 years, the NFL, we want to come in a day early so that we can visit with prospective coaches for the future of my team and any of the teams. In 35 years, I don't think I've ever visited with a coach.
Oh, here we go.
But what in my heart and mind, I wasn't having an interview. I don't think I've ever had a coach visit with me that wasn't prospectively thinking maybe someday our paths might cross. I know Jones might give me a little thought as I'm along the way. I've been around a lot of coaches.
Here we go.
As a matter of fact, I wanted to be a coach.
That says a lot.
Except I wanted to live better than I thought coaches live. I wanted to drive a little bigger car, and I wanted to fly in an airplane. Had I known what I'm paying them now, I'd have been a damn coach. But having said that, coaching is no, and the makeup of coaches are no stranger to me. On my college team, within almost 3 years after we won the national championship, every position coach, the Johnny Majors, the Hayden Fries, the Doug Dickies, every position coach became a head coach. Barry Switzer at Oklahoma. So I've seen it when I was a pup. I have a good background in the makeup of what a coach is. To think that you could make a decision in an interview and not have talked, if you didn't and hadn't ever communicated or had a visit, I wouldn't dare have had an interview unless I talked to many people that knew that person and had those kinds of life experiences, knew their story, if you will, Shotty, knew their story. Pat is here today. Jean, my wife, is here. Pat is Shotty's mama. When I served on the competition committee, we had many times that we were together. Jean knew Marty. Okay, we knew you. We know what osmosis is, and we know what Shotty grew up around. Not just from that, but we knew. Frankly, from the standpoint of Shotty, those X hairs crossed. Shotty might never have been in our mirror or in our view had he not joined us to be with Mike as a consultant 3 years ago, and it has been a coach. I've sat in handfuls of meetings with Shotty. I've listened, I've watched him have deference to his head coach. I've watched him have deference to experience guys like Zimmer, guys Laugh's got around. I've watched him bite his lip sometime when he didn't necessarily agree with that direction, but he bit his lip as his daddy would have told him to bite your lip. Have deference to the head coach. I've watched him exercise those things. I've particularly been a part of seeing what's brought this players in here today. Guys like Dak. And I know that Shotty is no stranger to these guys. I know he's no stranger to this building. Now, I get my proverbial ass kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. Without this thing being about me in any way, If you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This is as big a risk as you could take. As big a risk as you could take. No head coaching experience. Now, let me share something with you. With all of that, you've just heard him reference his osmosis, his family. Anybody in this room that doesn't believe the apple doesn't go far from the tree has missed it someplace down the road, especially if there was an effort to make it that way, and there was an effort. But then you go around to the countless numbers of coaches that Schotty has served on staff with and been around, the countless players. How often do you have someone that has 25, I'm going to say 25, it may be 26, of years of working through the human relationship and working, aspiring to learn, have his ears and eyes wide open and looking for techniques and looking for things that make coaches better? How often do you have a chance to take advantage of all of that at 50 years old, which is a puppy? Yet he's had 25 years being around the kinds of things that he's going to have to draw on to be a coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Did they cut his mic?
I like his baggage.
Did they cut his mic?
I like his baggage.
I think they cut his mic.
Experience. But let me say this. I was standing with Schotty.
Somebody cut his mic.
His mother.
Oh, there we go.
And I heard the other end, and I was listening to Schotty. And one of the things he said to his mama is, Mama, I'm going to get what Daddy didn't get a chance to get, or got a chance but didn't get. And I'm going to get a Super Bowl if it kills me. And his mother, of course, was emotional. This one will be for Daddy. The first one will be for him. I don't know what you call instincts. I don't know where you come. I really wouldn't dare try to tell you how Jimmy Johnson got here. I don't want to go into all the psychological stuff that caused Barry Switzer to be here.
I don't want to accept
or Chan Gailey. But it wasn't just about X and O's. And it was about things that were all melded in with some of life's experience and using my own osmosis, how I got here. All of that comes to play. I've read where we didn't have but 4 or 5 interviews. It's ridiculous.
It is.
To think that you can make a decision to coach the Cowboys relative to the number of interviews that you might have.
Defending himself.
He's a product of a lot of time. Many will say misplaced time or skewed times. I've read where I don't have a penchant for risk-taking. If you really knew my score sheet, you would see that I've taken more risk in the last 5 years than the rest of my life put together. And sometimes I don't know when I look in that mirror why the risk is taken. With it there, let me say this. It was a huge risk to get involved with the Dallas Cowboys. Huge. And a lot of people that quote unquote didn't understand or feel like it could be done. I spent a nice part, Tim Calishaw, you'll remember it. I spent a nice part of my early 4 or 5 years with the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay. All right, Jerry.
Defending
wrap up the question.
Not Coach Landry, and defending why Jimmy would make a good coach.
Stop. Enough.
I think one time I said he's worth 5 Heisman trophies to be a good coach. Did I know? No, but I knew Jimmy. Okay, had I interviewed countless thousands of coaches? No, not at all. So what I'm here to tell you is this was a thorough process, shaded by whatever my experiences have been, shaded by my experiences with Stephen and Charlotte and Jerry, shaded by many things. We all
shaded by 30 years of failure.
And what I would say for the fans
is it too early to start
is
drinking?
That yes, to some, and it might be couched as a less than glamorous hire. What I would say to you is I got here taking shots and not shoddy shots. I got here taking shots. Good things have happened. Let me tell you something. There's some stuff to be had over there where not many people go. There is. Don't think for 1 minute I won't take a shot. This was risky. This is risky. But by the same token, how often can you take a risk when someone has had over 30 years, almost 30 years, getting my numbers mixed up, but almost 30 years of being around coaches, of being around players. That's 2/3 of his life. And then the rest of it growing up in a football-oriented, NFL-oriented family, if you will. I think this might make something special. So I'm all behind what we're, to say the very least. Clarence, for your benefit, I'm all in here.
Oh, we're all in. No, he didn't. I'm all in here. Oh, my God.
Clarence Hill, All City DLLS.
Please don't ask Jerry another
You also brought up Super Bowl. What about this move gets you to the Super Bowl? Because that's what the
there
fans
we
are
go.
talking about. And Shotty, by the same token, question for you and for Shotty. What difference can you make from the Mike McCarthy era from a cultural standpoint?
Tell me you're going to run the ball more.
Mike's one of my best friends. And when you talk about what Mike and this football team has done over the last 5 years, it's been some incredible success. One of my greatest strengths is my ability to create relationships. Relationships that are built on trust,
Why does it look like a movie?
respect, connection. I'm really good with X's and O's, but I'm great with people. And
great with X's and O's, good with people. Great.
The type of men that we have in this locker room are excited about that. And so I think as we build this thing out, as the culture comes together of this team, that's where I feel like my greatest impact will be felt. With the relationships, the ability to communicate. I've always been someone that was very good at having open dialogue, hard conversations, and I've always tried to paint very clear, bright lines. And that's what I plan to do as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Excuse me, speak up.
How did this get you to the Super Bowl? How did this move get you to the Super Bowl?
Mike McCarthy left some good stuff here.
Oh, and you were smoking it, right?
Was Brian. He did leave. Mike McCarthy's a hell of a coach.
Okay. And we'd like him to come back.
Stuff here. It was time for a change. I've heard it criticized. We spent 5 days getting to come to that decision. We did come to that decision. One of the reasons we came to that decision is because there was this decision available to us as well. One of the reasons. Shotty has fantastic support among our players. Key players. Real support. And they've seen him when he was on top, and they've seen him when it didn't work out so well. That's an advantage here. That's a real advantage. That was big. That was real big. This process, I've read where it looked disjointed, it looked untimely, it looked those kinds of things. The very nature of the process, the time after we played our last game, and you've all heard me talk about how I felt about Mike McCarthy as being a good coach. But that time, those days, to reflect with him and go through many things that we should and wanted to talk about, that caused us to arrive at that. But what we have is an opportunity to take some of the very best things that are here in place, Mike's doing, some of those very best things, change some of that, add to it, and be better for that. Schotty's very much aware. I've heard Schotty referred to as maybe old school with his offensive philosophy. Well, I'll tell you one thing. As these philosophies or as these offensive philosophies evolve, okay, Schotty has a good feel for not only the offensive philosophies where they are today, but where they're going to go, and certainly where it has been. That's rare to come in here with this kind of energy, this kind of I'm going to show them. That's rare to combine those two things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there'll be change, but we'll use in place some of the many things that we have here now.
Can we get some shit from outside of here?
Brian, Todd Archer with ESPN. You said in the beginning that you weren't ready then to take a head coaching job. Why are you ready now?
I think, over the past 19 years, when that first was afforded to me, when I was first-time coordinator with the New York Jets, and a bright spotlight. There were things that made me pause. Now, spending the better part of the last 19 years learning, listening, doing, I've learned things, almost more things that I don't believe in than things that I believe in. Todd, I've always tried to be someone that moves around. I want to be around incredible coaches and players and try to learn from them. And so going to Seattle was, I would say, critical to my development as a coach. Pete Carroll challenged me in a number of ways. He challenged me to continue to be authentic, to continue to dive into the relationships that matter, which is your coaches, your players, ownership. He challenged me offensively, to be honest with you. He challenged me with, hey, what do you think about this scheme? What do you think about that scheme? And the McVay-Shanahan style was taking off, and in Seattle we were competing against, Sean and Kyle, and so he was pressing me. So I just really feel like things changed for me when I went with Pete. Learned a ton from my dad and all the coaches, Mike and Steve Spurrier, all those guys. But Pete Carroll had a huge impact on me, and it probably sharpened my edge and sharpened my view on what I want this opportunity to look like. And that was a big change for me, and one that I'm excited about moving forward.
And then for Stephen and Jerry, what do you guys need to do differently to support Brian and to end the 29-year drought that you guys have between going to a Super Bowl?
Well, I think we, you always have to evaluate, where it didn't go right last year. And obviously we're also evaluating where it didn't go right, in terms of, this drought
shit that I did.
People say we're in terms of a championship game or a Super Bowl. And, we just have to continue to make this roster better. It'll certainly be something that Jerry, myself, Will and his staff, and now Coach Schotty and his staff, we'll sit down and take a look and see what we have to do better. I think we got a lot of great pieces. You ask why Schotty? I think Schotty's the perfect combination of keeping some continuity, but also affecting change. And we have to support that as well in terms of being behind him and doing the things he wants to do. I've walked in Schotty's shoes. I have a lot of deference in myself as well, working with Jerry. Schotty did the same with Mike. Would he do things different? Is he going to do things different than Mike? Absolutely. I'm convinced of that. And, I think we got a great plan on defense. I think we got a great plan on special teams. We're putting that all together. That has to come together as a staff, and certainly Schotty leads that. And as he said, some of his best characteristics are communications and working with people. And I see that. I've taken that in. I've gotten more respect through this process with him, and also talking to other men about the job. But certainly we'll do a real deep dive on putting some personnel together, whether it be through the draft, free agency. What? I know, typically that's not been the way we've done this team, but we'll certainly look at it and, put really good, not only players, but good football character people with some of the men we have in this room right now. And we have a lot of great players on this team. And certainly no one has excuses. We had a few challenges this year on the injury front.
Son of John, you're right.
We think we do need to keep some continuity. Certainly every team, when they're looking for a coach out there, is looking, what's in the best interest of the quarterback. Certainly that played a role here. And, Dak's not making any coaching decisions, nor does he want to. But I can tell you every team who made a coaching decision was looking at how they saw for the quarterback. And
you didn't.
That's how you win in this
league.
Didn't. I think we've got one of the best, if not the best, in terms of our quarterback. And he's the ultimate leader. And we just have to continue to put the pieces around. And, we're not naive. I know our fans. They're not going to believe, and there's going to be pressure until we get the job done. And certainly we didn't get the job done this year.
Damn sure did.
Our ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. I can tell you, I've never seen a man more driven than Jerry. This is huge to him to go get this championship. And I know Coach Schottenheimer believes the same thing, and I know our players sitting in the back want it. I mean, they want it. They're driven to get it, and we've got to get the right people to put around them. We'll have turnover in our roster like we do every year, and our goal is to put together the best roster in the NFL.
Steve Spurrier told me, I called him and asked him about Schotty as a ball player, how he got there. He said, well, to start with, he threw the first touchdown pass in our national championship season. I got mad at my Heisman Trophy winner under center and sent him out there, and damned if he didn't throw the touchdown pass. But he told me a lot about Schotty. I called Pete Carroll to talk about Schotty. Why did y'all split up? Why'd you fire Schotty if you fired him? How'd that happen? So we got into that. Real good.
Real good.
Has been effusive about the impact of not only his father, but Pete and the people that have shaped him along the way. But it's kind of interesting. Will and his staff, they go to the next door neighbors of these players that we're drafting or look at drafting and get that next door neighbor to talk about them at that time. Boy, you need to do that when you're dealing with a head coach. Now, I didn't have to go to the next door neighbor with Jimmy. I didn't have to go to the next door neighbor with Barry. But, man, I've been to this guy's next door neighbor personally. And I like our shot with Schotty.
I like our shot with
John
Schotty.
Machota with The Athletic. For Stephen, we know that you met multiple times with Brian, several hours. Can you just kind of go behind the scenes and share some of the stuff that was talked about during that, and at what point you guys kind of felt comfortable making him the next head coach?
As I said, and certainly I probably more than anybody have respect, for what Schotty's role was. I mean, Mike was our play caller. He was our head coach, and then he was our play caller. And, Schotty was there to support him as the offensive coordinator. But I think some of the most important things for us, after you get to know the man better and you see the energy, you see the way he can communicate with Jerry, with myself, with the room, certainly that jumped out at you. But the bigger thing, as I mentioned, we certainly want continuity, but we also want change. And, just felt like, we need something that's going to freshen it up. Mike did one hell of a job here. He's the winningest coach, I think, in the history of the franchise. Had an unprecedented, 3-year run, winning 12 games. So, Mike did a lot of great things here. But at the same time,
right there in production,
we just felt like, Jerry felt like, I was supportive of it, that we did need change. And we wanted to hear how that was going to happen. And, it's not just the X's and O's. We obviously went extensively through the X's and O's, but we also, you get into the schedules, you get into how you get your players motivated, how you take care of your players. All those things are, part of being a head coach, and it's a lot. And that's why, a lot of people sometimes scratch their head, why would you go with a first-time head coach? That's been the way of the league these days. Most are going with these young offensive wizards that hadn't been head coaches. But I think we got a better version of that because of Schotty's experience. I mean, everybody's mentioned it. 25 years of NFL coaching and a whole lifetime of being around it. He played the game, at
sales job,
high level of competition in college. Certainly that made an impression on him. But it was real important, and the more we met, the more we wanted to meet. And I think that was helping us, come to a conclusion on what that decision should be in terms of, Coach Schottenheimer being our next head coach.
And then for Brian, real quick, just what was that moment like when it was Jerry or Steven or whoever told you, hey, we're moving forward with you, you're the next head coach?
Humbling. There's so many incredible coaches in this profession at every level. Again, I think I look back on my journey and, the fact that I'm sitting up here with these two men in front of you guys is a great lesson for coaches. It's a great lesson for my kids, for some of our players about persistence. And you get knocked down, you get back up and you keep working. And I'm incredibly honored to be sitting in this chair because it's such an incredible profession with so many great coaches that when I got the news, I really couldn't speak. And immediately I went to seeing my father's face and knowing how proud he would be of me.
And I'll say he turned around and called his mama right there in front of us.
Because I love mama.
That was very emotional. And I kind of set him up. I said, you are a first-time coach, and I believe we're hanging around the rim. I think we've got in place a team that can get there right now. I had other coaches tell me that were wanting the job. You're right there.
Who?
Right there.
Who wanted the job?
And the other. So I started to explain to him, but tongue-in-cheek, that I just couldn't take the risk of going with someone that was doing it for the first time. And then proceeded to go over some of the things that we talked about right there. And that's how he found out. He started, in my mind, finding out
couldn't take the risk.
We'd be at our Monday morning coaches meetings. And we'd be sitting there, and this year, more often than not, I'd have my head down and just be sitting here listening. And all of a sudden, that shotty would pop out with something. I go, hell, that's pretty good. This is kind of a somber morning. That's pretty damn good. Okay. Those are the kinds of things that give you an advantage if you've have proximity. And that was an edge to go along with the many boxes over here that were not checked. But that was kind of the edge. Nobody, no situation checks all the boxes.
Nick Harris, forward Star Telegram. This first one's for Jerry right here in the front.
Where are we?
Right here. You obviously know the man to your right very well. When you talk to fans are super impatient. They see two NFC East teams playing yesterday. Obviously, the drought that we've spoken to. I know you've spoken to fan sentiment, but why should fans buy into Brian Schottenheimer?
Well, you have touched on one point. Our fans have been very patient.
Too damn patient.
Very patient. And through you to them, I want to tell them how appreciative that I am.
Thank you for the money.
Of their support and of their interest in the Dallas Cowboys. Now, there's a whole bunch of those fans that look and are interested because they want to see me grovel, whatever it is. But I'm not putting that up there much. But to those fans who have been with us, this decision to bring Schotty in is risky. It's not a Hail Mary at all in any way. But it's founded over some very unique, as I started off, unique sets of circumstances. I know how much our fans are into the Dallas Cowboys. And for me to be into it is no solace at all. We're interested, they're interested, I'm interested in getting to those playoffs and winning. This is the best way that we can go to the playoffs and win.
What about a Super Bowl?
My next one's for Brian.
What about a Super Bowl? We don't even talk about that anymore.
You've worked with Dak Prescott for 3 years now. Obviously, he had a lot of support for you. What do you feel like you two can work on together to unlock even more of his game?
Well, before I respond to that, I'd like to go back with one thing, Nick. Like, I'm not doing this by myself. I've got the incredible support of Jerry, Steven, the Jones family. The young men that are sitting behind you, we're doing this together. So my message to the Cowboys fans and community is we're going to do this together. And we're going to build this thing the right way. We're going to get the culture right. The X's and O's will come. That doesn't matter. But the support and the work ethic of these guys that sit behind me, incredibly humbling that they know what it takes to win too. So it's not just me. It'll be me and the staff. Your second question, I apologize, was?
You've worked with Dak for the last 3 years. What do you feel like you can get out of him? What do you feel like he can get out of you as well?
You know, iron sharpens iron, and Dak and I have an incredible relationship, just like I have an incredible relationship with all these guys. Dak and I know how to push each other's buttons. We know how to have hard conversations. I laugh because I think about in training camp last year, a ball got intercepted, and we kind of had a thing in place where it was like, if you throw an interception, you come out. And so I took Dak out, and he's like, what? Like, he pushed back. He's like, and the competitor in him is special. And so I think he and I working together, along with the rest of the guys, putting together the system. There'll be tweaks. There's going to be changes. But he's the type of worker that changes an entire organization. And I think he and I see the game of football offensively very, very similar. And we'll have tons of communication moving forward on some of the thoughts of things we want to do, whether it's tempo or, you know, some of the different things we're trying to do with our play action passing game, the run game, things like that.
Run game, I'd like to see that.
He's easy to talk to, and I love and respect him along with all those guys.
Hey guys, Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. 2 questions. The first I'll lead to Schotty, kind of circling back to what Jerry and Steven both said as far as freshening things up, looking for a change. From a head coach perspective, that's going to key in on the offense. Generally speaking, how do you look to move forward as far as modernizing the offense? You talk about solving for the quarterback. What does that look like under a Schottenheimer era?
Yeah, again, I go back to my days with Pete. I think if you go back and you look at some of the things we did in Seattle, obviously, the starting point for me would be things that our players do well. You're always going to start with that. If your system's not flexible enough to do what your players do well, then you're probably in the wrong business. But I'm a big believer in cut splits. I'm a big believer in shifts and motions to distort things.
Ooh, shifts and motions.
We're going to do a great job of marrying our runs and our passes and make those look the same. I'm proud to say that 2 different times in my career as a coordinator, we led the league in rushing, and they go hand in hand. The running game and the action passing game go hand in hand. But I would say there's a tempo element that we're excited to mix in, that our players have all shown an affinity for. And let me expand on that a little bit. Why do players like tempo? Well, they like tempo because it allows them to play free. You guys have heard some of the play calls. Dak could rattle off 4 or 5 of them right now. They're pretty long. So when you go fast and you're playing on the ball, these guys, it's a little bit more like pickup basketball, you know. And those would probably be the biggest things that I would say from an offensive standpoint.
From a personnel and roster building standpoint, salary cap management as well for Jerry and Steven, you guys talk about learning some hard lessons, especially from 2024, depth issues once you guys were ravaged by injury. Just as far as salary cap management goes, free agency and the like, looking in the mirror is one way that you can learn things. Another way is to look at what your opponents and enemies are doing and try to kind of take from their strategies. When you look at a team like the Eagles, for example, do you feel there's anything that you guys can kind of take from their strategies, seeing as they handle free agency a certain way and they're back in the Super Bowl this year, that kind of could work for the Cowboys going forward?
Yeah, I think you certainly look at that. I think you look at your competitors in your conference, you know, what it's going to take to have success, whether that's a 49er team or whether that's an Eagle team. Obviously, the 49ers, you know, had the injury bug situation, and you know, in this salary cap era, if that injury bug hits you hard enough, it's, you know, it can be difficult to overcome. And but at the same time, you know, that's the goal, is to, you know, really do a good job with your draft, college free agency. That should be where your strong depth is. Obviously, this year we were counting on playing those guys right away, and they had to jump right in, and as the injuries came, more and more had to jump in. And but I think the bigger thing here is just where can we, you know, which has been our goal in the past, where can we, you know, in free agency, take care of some core needs so that when the draft comes, you are able to take the best player on the board, not unlike we did with CD. We weren't necessarily in that draft looking for a receiver, but CD Lamb's sitting there, and you know, it's obvious what you do there. And I think if you do some things in free agency, you know, like we've done in the past, to really take care of your roster before the draft comes around, you have a much better chance. But certainly,
you haven't done that.
You look at the blueprints. Everybody does it different. Kansas City's doing a great job bringing young guys along, and you know, those type of things. And like a team like Philadelphia, you certainly look at the way they're doing it, where they went out and you know, did some things with some veteran players. You have to take a look at that, and then you got to find exactly what fits your core, your DNA with our players and what we have, and what gives us the best chance to compete against. Certainly, you start with your division, the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Giants, and then you stretch that out, and what does it take you know, to beat the 49ers, to beat the Rams? Certainly those are all things that come in the mix.
I'll answer this. It's money management. Cap is financial. When I bought the Cowboys,
here we go.
Several of your counterparts rode over with me on this little jet airplane, rode over to my home in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we got off the plane and rolled up there to pick us up was a 5-year-old dirty Ford Bronco. And they got off and said, this doesn't make a lick of sense. You just bought the Cowboys and you're flying a jet and you drive up here in a 5-year-old dirty Bronco. And I said, it makes perfect sense. You can't have it all. You got to sacrifice someplace to get the other. If you try to have it all, you can pay the fiddler when you've used up your credit. That's salary cap. That's a salary cap. Not one that We won't hear, oh, what about that team? They've got the same salary cap issue you do, and they've got that done. Well, it's because all teams are different, and they've made those decisions as they've moved along. We want to
and they got somebody who understands the cap
significantly how we are doing the cap. The cap takes a big hit when you're invested in players that have injuries, significant injuries. So the cap can take a big hit at that time, cap management, but it's still there. It's still there. It's as real as if it was never there, the availability of it. And so if somebody thinks it's daunting, I try to answer you when we're talking. And so you hear me talk about, well, we have to manage the cap. Why not this free agent? Why don't you go do this? Not necessarily why didn't you go do that with that, or the timeliness of how you did it, but why didn't you go do that? Boy. That's all management. Okay, I want our fans to know that I can manage really good. I do real well managing.
Oh shit! Here we go.
I do real well managing. I know that that bank account's full. That doesn't mean you got money. It just means you hadn't paid your bills due 60 days from now. So you got to look around the corner. You got to be good at it, and you got to live with the time that you're looking around the corner. Okay.
Well, you've been looking around the corner for 30 years, bro.
That's what you see here. No apologies. Everybody has to do it. We obviously hadn't done it well enough.
Yes.
I think our first Super Bowls that I was involved in were before the cap.
Yes.
And so we have to do a better job in that area. Can we? You bet you can. You bet you can. Now, all in, we just spent some of it for Dak. We spent some of it for Lamb. We spent some of it for several of our players. It was an allocation, an anticipation of what we weren't going to spend or not spend in the future. All of that said, we, Stephen, me, spend a lot of time in this area. And I'm not talking about just sitting there in the office on a chalkboard. I'm talking about 3 o'clock in the morning when you can't sleep and you're sitting there doodling that cap.
Brad Sham, 105.3 The Fan. Brian, how long have you been thinking about and prioritizing being a head coach, and did this opportunity surprise you?
Humbly speaking, Brad, when I was probably 20 years old, 22 years old, I was throwing the first touchdown pass of the 1996 National Championship season. I actually had a card in my wallet that I had written down a goal. And it said I wanted to be the youngest head coach in the history of the National Football League. I think at the time it was David Shula. And that's when I started thinking about it. And that's why when a couple of these opportunities didn't work out for different reasons, I thought for a while it might not happen. But it's been a lifelong dream. I mean, how do you wake up every day in a household with your mentor, your best friend, see the sacrifice and the work ethic that he does? Someone told me, it's a cute story. They told my dad, they said, "Hey, is Brian getting into coaching?" And he goes, yeah, I'm trying to talk him out of it. I don't want him to, and his mom sure doesn't want him to do it. But I did. And I think it was his really good friend, Bill Cowher, that said a year or two later, he said, "Marty, you're missing the boat." He said, "The fact that Brian got into coaching is a compliment to you because you made it fun for him. He respects you, and he's following in your footsteps." And so it's been a lifelong dream, a lot of work. But like I said, that note card was in my wallet at an early age, and it's been a long time coming, but it's here.
Did this opportunity surprise you?
I think as the conversations went and we talked more and more, no. I think there's a ton of reason. Stephen's already touched on it. You know, the continuity through change. I know the players. I know the building. I know our strengths. I know our weaknesses. I know our issues. And the more and more we got into conversations, sitting around and just discussing different things, I wanted even more. And here we are.
Let me say this. We wanted Brian to call the plays. We cherish his relationship with our players. We want him to call the plays. As my mind and our mind would drift around to alternatives, I believe, he doesn't have to speak for this, but I believe if he doesn't call the plays, he probably not with the Cowboys. He doesn't have to speak to that, and he might not know himself, really. I'm not anyway talking down. But I know one thing, one of us, I think Jerry, said, have you ever thought about that if we've kind of gotten over in this area of potential head coaching with Brian to some degree, the conversation he's referring to. And Jerry said, you know something, if we went that way, as much as we've gone down the path, there'd be some heartbreak here. There'd be some knock the slats out from under. I'm just giving you an idea of how the process was going as we were looking at alternatives of other people that might be coaching the Dallas Cowboys.
Defending himself.
Brian calling the plays. So having said that, just to give you a little bit of insight, Brian, I'll tell you this. My lifelong dream was to get involved in sports and pro ball. And my master's thesis was the role of oral communication in modern day football. Had I not had that dream, had I been sitting there, I was 46 when I bought the Cowboys, had I not been sitting there for 25 years, every moment thinking about, my God, I'd watch that Lamar Hunt and he'd be up there with the Chiefs. While I was doing that, the same mind would come home from college and go out in the backyard with a stick and a ping pong ball and play a complete World Series by myself, hitting the ball over the fence. So that dreaming, if you hadn't dreamed about it, if you hadn't gotten ready to go, when that damn train comes by, you'll be grabbing air on that caboose. You have had to have thought and pictured yourself that way a long time, or you'll miss that damn train. You will. All of this was in the mind. That's all of this was there. And why is the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys?
Okay.
Jerry, Tim Kalishaw, Dallas Morning News, back here in row 3. Appreciate the shout out earlier. Having said that, you know, since your last NFC championship game, this is the 7th coaching hire you've made. That's a unique situation among GMs. Others do not get that luxury. How would you tell the fans again how this unique system is working?
Well, it makes it unique because I've been with the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have had 7 coaching hires, and it happens I've been here for those 7 coaching hires.
Wow, surprise.
I'm not so sure, you know, average time a head coach coaches in NFL is about 3.4, 3.5 years that they coach in NFL average time. I'm not for sure what it is with the general managers. It could be less or more than that, but it's a big turnover, especially the last 10 or 15 years with you there, okay? And if I could ever think, the story I just told Tim, I got up and I went to work and I lived on that hope and that promise, and I had a lot of gas. And my point of telling the ping pong ball and bat story was I live in those dreams, and I live real good there. But I'm practical enough to know you can't eat those dreams. So you got to go put some hard action to it. Life is real. But boy, those dreams are real there too. I'm dreaming
about winning a Super Bowl again.
of the Cowboys playing in a game like the one I saw last night. when the Eagles were sitting up there with those Chiefs. I'm dreaming of it. I will always dream of it. I've never quit dreaming about it.
Yeah, but you haven't put in the action to it.
I want that.
Janet Rogers.
Jane Slater, NFL Network. Jerry, to a lot of us on the outside, it did look like this process took a bit. What was the reason for that? Was there a point during your conversations with Mike that you thought that he would stay? Was there something that came up in those conversations that you needed to change? And what did he say, or some of the coaches that you reached out to, give you confidence that this was the guy that you needed, particularly given some of the criticism about some of the decisions and the coaching in recent years?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I wasn't aware of any clock. Where's the clock? There are a hell of a lot more important things than a clock. Take a long time to do this. How about the timing to do that? If I'd have screwed around with clocks in my life, I wouldn't get to be sitting up here. And by the way, you say, well, if you'd watched the clock, you wouldn't be sitting up here explaining why you hadn't been to a playoff game in all those years, too. I understand. I get it. One of the fun things about this deal is you get to start a new clock every time you line up for the year. And so I really can block out, not block out the practical things, because I don't care if it is the new year. If they're about to take your house away, that'll go from last year into this year. So there's reality that goes with it. So,
the Mike McCarthy press conference only lasted 55 minutes.
I'm sitting here because I know how to deal with reality.
This one's an hour and 10 so far.
And so to answer that question is simply, it never occurred to me there was a clock at all. When I was trying to buy the Cowboys, I think I did read someplace, Tim, you might have remembered or what have you. I read someplace where that process and all that was going on was maybe creating some time problems relative to the clock of the NFL or the clock of that. I've really not had the experience of that being the determining factor. I heard this year that we didn't get Dak signed quick enough. Dak, you're sitting right back there. You want to stand up and tell him you had something to do with that?
Oh, you blaming Dak now?
No, thank you.
Didn't get Lamb signed quick enough. Okay, there's so damn many more things to think about than that clock. It's unbelievable. So I hear it, and I understand the point. But I think it is fair to say that that clock doesn't affect me that much.
Coach Schottenheimer, I love the way that you've reflected, you've sort of manifested how you want to get there. We know that Dak's big on that as well. How do you want to be remembered when you leave the Dallas Cowboys one day?
Number one is a champion. And number two is someone that created one of the greatest cultures professional sports has ever seen.
Okay.
Ed Werder, WFAA, back here in row 4 next to Kalashaw. Back with the Dak Prescott delegation. Brian, my question is, Dak's missed a large portion of 2 of the last 5 seasons with injuries. It's going to be, I think, 32 when the next season starts.
He's a young 32.
What's your vision? You talked about how important the quarterback is, all of you have in these kinds of decisions. What's your vision for him going forward?
I think when you talk about Dak, number one, I've had the best seat in the house for the past couple of years in terms of the first year one as a consultant, watching. Literally, I remember the first day I was in the building, he came up and introduced himself, said hello, and we were just talking, and people that we mutually respected, and we talked about that. But, being around the last couple, years, my vision for him is he's one of the best. And through the coaching that he's going to get, through the hours and hours and hours of time that he and I will spend together, He's going to play elite level football, and he's going to lead us to championships. And that's because of the way he
Fans
works,
are pissed right now.
the way he prepares. This guy prepares different. Ed, he does. He prepares different. This guy, I'll be coming down late at night and trying to get something to drink, and I just have to move around because my eyes are bugging out from watching video, and he's still in the building doing his, I guess it's hot, cold therapy, whatever that is. I don't do that, but we got the right guy. And working closely with him and these other players, we're going to win. And we're going to win a championship. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
Dak, you're sitting right behind Ed Werder there. Reach up there and squeeze him on his neck and show him what a little problem is with your health. Feels like.
All righty, we're out of time. And thank everybody again for coming. Thank Jerry, Brian, for being up here for over an hour. So we'll continue with some of the other things we're gonna do after this. Thank you, everybody.
Picture.
Okay, I hate that freaking music. All right, so I want to do a little something here, just a little something. Let me pull it on over because I'm going to say that I just want to, just for reference sake, I want to go back to when they hired Mike McCarthy, the press conference. Sometimes I might be just grabbing at straws right now, but sometimes subtle things can mean a lot, because I want to start out and show you how the other press conference started with Mike McCarthy.
Good afternoon. You'll see real quickly here that I've just about lost this voice. A little excitement or just using it a lot. As you guys that know me real well know, that's easy to do for me. But welcome to Ford Center. One of our primary goals in selecting the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys was to focus on a proven
let me go
team builder.
So it was literally Jerry Jones starting this thing and talking for the first 6 minutes before Mike McCarthy said a word. Jerry talked.
Well, first of all, thank you. It is great to be here, and I'm having a moment here because I don't know where the hell to put my hands. I never sat at a table for a press conference, so excuse me.
Now, okay, I don't want to go through all of it, but here's the thing. On that press conference that we just saw, it was not Jerry Jones. It was not Jerry Jones leading it. Okay? Let me reiterate. I took notes. I took some notes here, okay? I took some notes here on the press conference. The first thing I'm going to say is the difference of when Mike McCarthy was hired. Jerry Jones was the MC of the whole thing. Jerry Jones spoke for the first 6 minutes of the press conference before we ever heard anything from Mike McCarthy. And what was different about this one was Brian Schottenheimer was the one who started this press conference out, and he spoke. He went through, he thanked his family, his mother. He talked about his father, about him wanting to be a head coach, having unfinished business for his family of winning a Super Bowl. Now, I'm going to say that that's key right there, because that's actually Jerry Jones stepping out of the spotlight just for a moment. Okay, listen. Xavier, no. Xavier, okay, again, what I'm trying to say is when you listen to it, I'm trying to put together all this stuff. Who cares? No, it isn't irrelevant because Jerry Jones always has to be front and center. Jerry Jones has to always be front and center. They allowed the coach to be the one to actually talk. That's not how it usually works. Usually, as soon as the game is over, it's Jerry and Stephen Jones, and then you hear from the coach later on. Okay. Again, and here's he still took over, but who opened it up? You got a chance to listen to the coach. The second thing that's going to be subtle, and we'll know within 2 months. We'll know within 2 months if anything's changed, because you kind of heard Stephen Jones admit that they didn't put enough of a team around there. In fact, I'm going to say they kind of admit that they screwed Mike McCarthy because they said, we're going to be behind him. We're going to be behind Brian Schottenheimer doing things different than with Mike. Listen, maybe I'm grabbing at straws. Maybe I'm grabbing at straws, but this is what Stephen Jones, when he finally got talking, he didn't talk till later. He said, we're going to be behind. Now, again, this could just be lip service. We're just trying to shovel some more shit on you so you'll buy season tickets. But what I'm saying is they were at least saying the right things. The fact that you had players there that support the guy, because more than anything else, we don't think that Dak Prescott has much of a say, but I dare say that this was Dak Prescott pointing a finger and saying, we need consistency, and I believe in Schottenheimer. Schottenheimer, regardless of Mike McCarthy calling the plays, Schottenheimer is the guy who works with Dak. When Dak comes off the sidelines, it's Brian Schottenheimer who's sitting next to him, going over the plays and what they see and so on. Okay? So that's where Dak is looking at this, and the Cowboys are looking at this. They made his contract just as long as Dak Prescott's, 4 years. And they're looking at this from the standpoint of saying, how can we keep the offense consistent? But for Stephen Jones, who's always saying, we don't believe in free agency because you're paying good money for bad ones, and kind of saying, when he was asked about the depth issues on the team, he said, we're going to be doing things different than with Mike. Putting people on the roster, be it the draft and free agency. Now, I don't know what that means. They may look at it and say, us signing players at the end of training camp is, free agency. I don't know if they're going to go out and actually try and get some other guys. But they're recognizing that they don't have enough talent on the roster. You can see Jerry Jones referring to Dak Prescott quite often and acknowledging that he's here and the shape that he's in. Now, I see there's so much hate in here for Dak. Everybody wants to blame Dak for everything, fine. But the reality is this. The reality is this. You sign Dak, whether you like it or not, and he is your quarterback. And at the moment, what they're trying to do is we got to do the best we can with what we got. And the best thing you can do, people keep wanting to say, get rid of the quarterback and get somebody else. Well, I think the Bears have been trying to do that forever. I think the Cleveland Browns have been trying to do that forever. Washington has been trying to do it for the last 35 years, and they finally maybe have done it. Because since Mark Rippon, they ain't got anybody that got them to an NFC Championship game. They finally got a guy. So the hardest position to find somebody is quarterback. And 2 years ago, you got 36 TDs and 9 interceptions and a runner-up MVP. There's no guarantee that Shedeur Sanders is going to be able to do that if you can get up there. And you have so many different things. Now, I will also say another key thing here is when you listen to Brian Schottenheimer and they ask him, well, what are you going to do things that are a little different? Well, I'm not going to be an idiot. If there's things we do good, we're going to keep it. We're going to tweak some of those things. We're going to use more pre-action motion. We're going to use more play action. We're going to use things like hurry up offense and understanding running the football, the running game. This is more important than anything else because Mike McCarthy has never been a guy who's crazy about running the football. He is not. But they pointed out 2 or 3 times with Brian Schottenheimer, they have led the league in running the football. And as you can see, what Saquon Barkley has done for the Eagles. You can see what Henry has done for Baltimore. They just didn't follow through on it in the AFC Championship. I mean, the AFC divisional round. So you're going to see more running. You're going to see a more modern offense using more motion and things. But, I can't guarantee any of this is going to work. But in the end, if Brian Schottenheimer is going to be successful, the Joneses have a lot to do with it in working the cap and bringing in more talent. And I will say that this would put probably Genty more on a possibility of them drafting. And it also, having Brian Schottenheimer may make somebody like Terrence Steele somebody that they'll hold on to because, see, Terrence Steele is almost an elite run blocker, but he sucks at pass blocking. And so you look at that, when you look at that and say, we're going to be a passing offense, he don't fit. Because if they know, and I got Philly 500 texting me, guess who's going to the Super Bowl every hour on the hour. If teams know you're going to be pass blocking, then Terrence Steele's a liability. If you are mixing it up and they don't know if they're going to pin their ears back and come, then Terrence Steele is better to have because he's a better run blocker. Cooper Beebe is a run blocker. And it may be, USMC, that it is just PR. Of course it's PR. It's them trying to sell us on it. But there are subtle things that you hear. When Jerry Jones tells you, we got the right guy because, I've talked to coaches all over the place for 35 years and this, that's bullshit. That's Brandon Wheaton throws the prettiest pass out there. Okay, that's Ryan Frenoy. He's got Dez Bryant. That's bullshit. I get it. That's Jerry Jones trying to defend himself because it looks like they didn't do the homework. You get that. You know that that's the snow job that you're going to get. But you have to look at the subtle things. Again, Brian Schottenheimer leading us. And I got to say, I'd rather listen to Brian Schottenheimer talk than Mike McCarthy. You got the players there. Most of the offense is there supporting this guy. And the fact that you're at least starting with a guy who has players that respect him, knowing the offense, is going to be better than if you went out and got somebody who's now, this is day one, I don't know nobody but Jerry and Stephen Jones. Yes, we suck as an organization. We have done everything wrong since firing Jimmy Johnson. And yes, this is Jerry Jones trying to sell the bullshit. I get it. But there are a few things to at least say, give the guy a chance. Give the guy a chance. You don't have any choice on it, and you just bashing, it's not going to change it. So, no, Jason Witten is pretty much like, no, I don't think he's part of the equation right now. Now, we do have Matt Everfuss, who is on a plane flying to Dallas right now to do an in-person interview. And pretty much if that goes well, he'll be hired as the team's defensive coordinator. And we'll go from there at the process of filling out the coaching staff and the roster. So that's all I can tell you guys. At least that's the good things that at least I like hearing. We'll do more pre-snap motion. We'll rely on the strengths of Dak Prescott, which is play action, which means we're going to be trying to run the ball better, which means we're going to have a shift in, the philosophy of balance, which I think will definitely help your quarterback be prolonged. And if you think about where we were in 2014, when we ended up having DeMarco Murray rushing for 1,800 yards, that they were balanced and it helped Tony Romo stay upright. And that's what we have to get back to with Dak Prescott having, he's an older quarterback. It ain't like he can't throw. If they get the pieces to go around there, you got as good an offense as anybody out there. That's all I can tell you guys. As far as that goes, I'm sure you're going to hear all kinds of different things from different people. One of the things you're hearing is people are going through and they're killing Brian Schottenheimer because they're saying, well, he didn't do this, he didn't do this. But you look at some of the organizations that he was with, when you talk about Jacksonville Jaguars, when you talk about the Jets and things, these are organizations that aren't winning with others. But when he was with an organization like the Seattle Seahawks, he was successful as the offensive coordinator. You can see that he was the guy who worked with Dak Prescott and was part of that runner-up MVP. And so having that guy still continuing with the offense and not changing it completely, I think that's actually a good thing. I'm not some bullshit. What you want me to? Why be mad? We won't actually know anything until the team actually hits the field. So am I supposed to sit here and stew all off season? Be depressed about something that I cannot control? I can't control it. It's going to be what it's going to be. I choose to try and look at the bright side and see why it might work as opposed to just saying we're doomed. I have been in many, many situations and I've seen many, many hopeless situations that turn out to be great things. I can't guarantee you what it's going to be, but when you talk about what he has done in his career as opposed to Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn, he's got more experience than those guys do. Those guys had 2 years of success with the Lions. And now they're head coaches. This guy's had a world view around the NFL. So we'll see. We'll see. That's all I can tell you. We'll see. Whew, man. Well, that's an hour and a half of my life I can't get back. But we'll see. I'm going to say the same thing that I've said over and over again. The head coach is important. But the only way we're going to win is if the Joneses change who they are. That's the bottom line. Nothing else is going to change. Nothing else is going to change. And we've seen guys who, you could say that Sean McVay didn't have any success when he was with Washington. And then he got the head coaching job with the Rams. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys later.
I've eaten a lot of raccoon. Yes. The answer is yes. And I've eaten it hunting. I've actually had it served by my mom at the table away from hunting. And I have eaten raccoon. And yes, it's not uncommon at all. I'll tell you something that is one of my favorites is squirrel. And it's wonderful, and my mother could do a great job of it. And we all had our favorite pieces, and my dad and sister, I have one sibling, a sister, and they would fight over, not fight, but my mom and I, they were just my sister and I as far as siblings, my mom and I wouldn't even ask for the brain in a squirrel.
Oh, man. Oh.
And delicious, seriously.
My dad loves cow brain.
My sister always got it.